Hi Les, so you have a really nice portfolio case here. It's yellow, bright, catches our attention. Um, Nice leather, you can see it's screw post, you can see how the images are really nicely placed in there. You have your name written on there, photographer. The contrast of that red and yellow really bring my attention in. It looks like this is like being worn off a little bit, so be aware of that for your next purchase with a portfolio, something that's not going to have that wear to it. Then you have this beautiful yellow on the inside. I just love these colors together. I think it's working really great. And since I'm talking about the cover, the back, how you have this folder or space to have the leave behinds, have your business cards. It's just really high quality here. And then you open from this to this, and it's like stark white. And at first I thought, oh, I don't know if that's working next to each other, but then it brings me right into your name, and it kind of like shocks me out of that yellow, right? Because the yellow is a really, really strong color, and you don't want that to like negatively affect how we're viewing the next images. So this almost is like if you're doing a tasting and you do something to cleanse your palate, right? I feel like that's what this image or this like title page with your name in the city, that's kind of what it does for me. Then we have another blank page, and then we move right into your images. So this is one of your strongest images, and as I've repeated all semester, and I'll continue to repeat as I look at this portfolio, you involve the viewer in this picture. So we're down low and we're looking up. We have a sense of place. You're kind of grounding us with this, with the wood on the ground of this pier, looking up at the tower. Now, the way that you've put these in here, I think the idea of having this lay flat, you've scored the pages, but then you have this separation. So we're not able to get into this image as much as I'd like to. So what you can do about that is as you build up your portfolio and you get more images in here, because you have that option with this type of portfolio, they will be closer together, right? They'll be forced to be closer together. And that will be one thing that will improve this. The other is just how you're scoring your pages. So when you score your pages, I'm not sure what you use to do this, but you can get a bone folder. You can get this at like, if you're in the city, Arch, I don't know if they still exist. Actually, I haven't been over there in a while, but they used to sell them. You could look online and I'm sure you can find it. It's called a bone folder, and there's really expensive ones and there's cheaper ones, and you can just get one of the cheaper ones, and it'll give you an edge to get the, to come on the inside of the creases, as well as give you something to really flatten those lines down so that they're sitting closer together. I'm noticing a little bit of banding happening here, so be aware of that. All right, so here it's not that big of a deal, the difference between these two, having that space. It doesn't bother me nearly as much because we're not looking this at, as one picture. Yeah, these are different. I don't think I've seen either of these images. So you're taking a big step back from these type of images where you're giving us a sense of place, right? Here you're stepping back, here you're stepping back, but you're including us as the viewer, like thinking I can be part of this, picturing myself sitting right there, picturing myself in one of these windows. This is an image again that you'd want to get a little bit closer together, and you can see how the colors are a little bit, like you see the purples and greens back in this area, so that's something to be worked on. Also make sure that you're holding on to the detail on all of these whites. It's getting a little bit bright there. But this is a great image as far as pulling us in, giving us a line to come up and introducing ourselves to this. We're seeing a lot of edges on this plant specifically, so be aware of how you're darkening the sky and the edges on this. This is really problematic. This, I think, is, again, one of your strongest images, pulling us in with the line of the chain coming across the bridge. It's just such a unique vision of the bridge. Normally, we're looking from the Marin side and we're looking at San Francisco. Here we're looking at from the San Francisco side, and we see the headlands, which to me is like the dreamy part of getting out of the city. So I love this image. The splash of the water coming right up at us. Again, taking a step back. So these are very similar to these last two, these second two images that we saw. Taking a step back and seeing the structure here and the structure here, but pulled back quite a ways and seeing them as more abstractions opposed to seeing them as the buildings that they are. Really interesting. I think it's a great mix for you to have these really personalized images and then kind of pull us back and look at the beauty in the architecture. It kind of reminds us to move back and forth. Again, we see the edges on these. I didn't notice that in your online files. I for sure would have said something if I saw those in your digital files, but I'm not seeing that, but they're really obvious as you're printing them. So be aware of those selections that you're making, how you're darkening the sky. Be aware of any spots on your image sensor and making sure you're removing that from the final print. Here, inviting us down. See that edge again. But the way that you're capturing these and really kind of taking something that's so familiar, the clock tower, but abstracting it. So we're looking at it as a shape and as a structure opposed to identifying it with the building and the structure itself. All right, and like I said, this is a really great way to hold the leave behinds and the business cards if you have them. We have your name here, email address, website. Remember, you want that My Portfolio to be gone. You just want it to be yourname.com. Then you have your phone number. This looks pretty cyan to me, so make sure you color correct that, because we shouldn't see that cyan in the rocks back there, but we are. All right, so overall I think your images are really beautiful. I'm concerned about the printing and these edges that we're seeing, and how you're creating that separation. It's just not working. So that's something you really need to correct. And then as you get more images, they'll be pushed together more. Just make sure you get that bone folder so they can lay nice and flat. So someone could open your portfolio and walk away from it and it would still be right where it was, as well as it would be pushing these images closer together.